I'm about a mile in. Everything feels good. Almost too good, and I've been here before. This is the lie. This is where you start thinking, oh wow, you've got this, man. Today is your day. No demons here. But I know better. Because the run doesn't start when it feels good. It starts when it doesn't. Like that old Muhammad Ali adage, I don't count my sit-ups. I only start counting when it starts hurting because they're the only ones that count. And so about 3 miles in, light bulb goes off. There it is. That shift, subtle at first, right? Breathing gets a little tighter, legs a little heavier, and a voice shows up. A familiar voice. Hey, ease up. Let your foot off the gas. It's not loud or dramatic. It never is. It's just suggestive. Take a little off. You can still finish strong. You'll find some later. And that's how it happens. Not collapse. Never collapse. It's drift. And I feel it, right? That version of me, the one that negotiates. The one that says, maybe it's right. We don't need to push here. We can make it up later. And I've listened to him before. That's the dangerous part. He sounds like me. But then another voice cuts in, quieter, sharper. Nah, Eddie, that's not who you are. Right? And now it's not about the race anymore. It's about identity, because nothing around me has changed. Same road, same body, same sky, same landscape. But I feel myself at that metaphorical fork, standing there. Do I fold or push? 5 miles in, it gets loud. Everything in me is screaming now, right? Slow down. Just survive this. Just get through. This is where most people think the battle is physical. It's not. It's permission. Permission to back off, permission to break character, permission to become someone else just for a moment. And I've done that. I've stepped away from who I said I was just for a second. But you see, that's all it takes. A second. Because you break once and it gets easier to break again and again and again. But today, I catch it right as it starts. That thought, hey, you don't have it today. Ease up, chill out. And I stop it in its tracks. Not with motivation or hype, just a decision. No, that's not me. And then nothing changes except everything. Pain's still there, legs still heavy, but now there's no negotiation, no conversation, just movement, silence, steps on the pavement, breath in and out. Because the truth is, you don't rise to the level of the moment, you fall to your identity, to who you know yourself to be, to what you see back when you look in the mirror. Who are you? 8 miles in, I'm not thinking anymore. There's no story left, no justification, no how much longer, just one thing, hold the line. It's a very simple job, not an easy job, but it's simple. And amidst chaos, simple is everything. This is who I decided to be. Not at the start line or when it felt good, but here. And that's how it all works. If you see yourself as someone who conquers, you don't magically feel stronger, you just stop giving yourself a way out. No more off-ramps, no more cracked doors. It's funny, the people that have no plan B, they tend to figure out plan A. So if you see yourself as someone who folds, know that you won't collapse all at once. You'll just keep accepting those small exits, those off-ramps, the plans B, C, and D, until there's nothing left to hold on to. The body follows that, always. Crossing the finish line, there's no surprise, no shock, because this was decided miles ago, the moment I chose who I was going to be when it got challenging. So don't tell me about your goals or your plans. Tell me who you are. Who are you when the voice shows up? That's the only moment that matters. And the thing is, like so many things, that voice doesn't just show up in a foot race, it's everywhere. It resides around you. Different race. A few months in, building something, and it's quiet, no sales, no traction. But there it is again. Eddie, maybe this isn't it. Maybe you're not good enough. Maybe you can't do this. It's not loud. It's always reasonable at first. Dude, maybe it's time to pivot. Maybe it's not working. And I recognized it immediately. Same voice, different race. Same voice, different race. Because nothing's actually changed. Same effort, same path, just less proof. And this is the moment. Not strategy, identity. Do you fold or hold the line? Because quitting doesn't feel like quitting in these moments. You have to remember it's a wolf in sheep's clothing. Here, quitting feels like logic. It's intuitive. It makes sense. But I've seen this before. This is where people step off and tell themselves, it was the right call. You had to. So I go back into the archives and I pull out the memory, the recollection. Boom, this is where I must stop the conversation. Same decision. No. And nothing changes except that there's no way out now. No negotiation, just execution. Why? Well, because if you're someone who keeps going, you keep going here. And if you're someone who folds, well, right now is where it happens. So you move. And then some time passes. You're a few weeks in, different race. Someone leaves your life and it hurts and everything feels different, quieter, heavier, and that voice shows up again. Hey, you don't have to be strong right now. You can stay here a little longer. You can let life collapse around you. You have every reason to. Let it go. It's not loud, it never is, just inviting. But I recognize it, same voice, different race, because nothing has actually changed. The world is still moving, life is still asking. I'm just slower to answer, and this is the moment. Not emotion, identity. Stay or step forward. Stopping doesn't feel like stopping, it feels like protecting yourself. Again, intuitive. I hope you see the pattern here. It doesn't matter the race, the same rules apply. We're still governed by the same principles. This is where people get stuck and call it healing. So I stop the conversation and move. Not fast, not perfect, just forward. Because if you're someone who keeps going, you keep going here. And if you're someone who folds, this is where it happens. Different race, same test, same answer. That's the truth. It's always the same moment. Different stakes, but same decision. See, and in all three of these examples, it's not about being the strongest. It's not about never feeling doubt. It's not about avoiding the voice, so that voice will arrive. It's about who you believe you are when it shows up. Because if you identify as someone who pushes through, you don't need perfect conditions. You don't need certainty. You don't need proof. You need a decision. And if you don't identify that way, you'll simply keep finding reasons to step off. So again, I'll leave you with this. The question isn't what you're facing. It's not the particular race or the context. It's not the business. It's not the loss. The question is, who are you when it gets hard? Because that moment, that decision, that answer decides everything. We are the stories we tell ourselves. I used to tell the maybe someday story until I saw the value contained in the why not today story. I was a main character in the how do I not mess things up story until I pushed my way into the how about capturing life's upside story. I believed wholeheartedly in the what will my friends, acquaintances, people I used to know think of me story before I felt the freedom of the you don't live life for them, you live life for you story. My scarcity story preceded my abundance story. My bowing before the odds story preceded my simply do not stop story. My you don't deserve them story preceded my if you're not a net positive on my life, I don't want you around story. My maybe I can be that impactful, add that much value, make that much money, have that much fun story preceded my I'm going to do all those things. Now how do I arrange these pieces to support my mission story? As I've grown and learned and changed, so have the stories that I've told myself. And I can look back and always draw a direct line from the stories I was telling and the life I was living. We get in life what we allow, and our narratives, our stories, happen to be the gatekeepers. If you want to change the situation, change the story, right? If you're telling yourself the world is against you, you'll live like the world is against you. If you're telling yourself the world is conspiring to help you live your best, you'll find the opportunity where you otherwise wouldn't. And you'll find it not through magic, but because you're looking for it. It's that simple. We don't look for things that go against our narratives. We don't seek things out that we don't believe exist. Those internal stories prompt our action, and our action changes our reality. Since finding this a few weeks ago, it's become one of my favorite ideas. Alan Watts, speaking to a classroom of students, he says, when a flag is flapping in the wind, is it the wind or the flag that moves? Neither. It is the mind that moves. Our minds are moving, they are internalizing and painting the portrait that becomes our reality. If you don't like the reality you're seeing, guess what? It's not the world, it's how you're viewing the world. It's what you're doing about your world. And I understand how hard it can get, how we all oscillate between periods of struggle and contentment, how low the lows can feel. I get it. But the truth is, the wrong stories will simply keep you down, hold you there. They'll ensure blinders stay on as life rotates around you and the opportunity dissipates. We are the stories we tell ourselves. And that's beautiful news because it means the reflection in the mirror holds the key to transformation. Life can give you the details, the context, but it can't write the script. That, my friend, is all you. It's impossible to know how this story ends. I don't think we're expected to, nor do we need to. But we do need to be willing to light up the 10 feet in front of us. We need to be willing to illuminate the now. It's how little nothings transition into those very meaningful somethings. One illuminated piece of the puzzle at a time. They say that complexity is the enemy of progress. Things seem too big, too far away. When all the world appears dark, we pause. We become crippled by how much we don't know. We hide in the shadows of life's unknown. But I have, and hopefully will until my final days, hold on to the idea that we have within us enough light, just enough light, to brighten up the path before us, directly in front of us. It's always been just enough to get through anything. When the world is dark, you can't see the hand in front of your face, it will always be true that you possess the ability to cut through that darkness, to highlight the next stepping stone. There's just enough light to collect the data and information sufficient to make one more logical decision. One more. To take one shaky and uncertain step. It's amazing what they become over time. See, I've spent some time in that metaphorical darkness. I've also been in the light. I've believed, I've had all the answers and been brutally humbled by life. There have also been times where I bet on myself when the odds were small and emerged victorious. Whether up, down, high or low, the saving grace was remembering that if I turned the light on, the headlamp initiating from my eyes and projecting out into the world, it would always provide enough for me to do perhaps the most important thing I'm capable of doing, moving forward. There's no skipping in life, no jumping races to arrive at any particular finish line. But there is always enough to carry on. This realization has been interesting to me. Our struggle, when it emerges, it's usually not derived from an inability to do the right thing. It's not like we're missing something. No, our struggle comes from thinking we need more than we do. It's frustration that our goals are so big and so far away and so out of reach. We lose sight of what we can control, blinded by a standard that no human can live up to. Stop beating yourself up for not being a god. No mere mortal ever leapt a mountain. Everything is not the goal. One thing is the goal, and you are capable of one thing. Everyone is capable of one thing, one little action to initiate momentum and push you further into that unknown. But where? You might wonder, I need to know where. To which I say, breathe. Because the wheres make themselves known when you're in motion. As you move forward, the wrong destinations prompt you to learn and then self-correct. And the right ones inspire you to push further in their direction. Both valuable, right? The only way to lose is not go. The only way to lose is to say, because I don't have it all figured out, I'll remain right here. Like a toddler refusing to put a puzzle together because he can't see the completed mural in each individual piece. The whole point is to put it together. The fun is to put it together. The growth and the value is in putting it together. And I get it. We want to know, right? Humans want to know. That's why evolving is hard. We have to be okay with not knowing. And that's what life is about, formulating your hypothesis and then letting the data derived from your progress alter your approach. That data is not gifted to you while you stand stagnant. So the question is, will you sign that dotted line? The one that says, when you can't see the mountaintop, what you will be left with is solely trust in yourself that you can bring it about. It's easy to say yes when the sky is blue and the birds are singing. But amidst the storms, when your mind begins to whisper that perhaps it will never end, when it begins to ask you if there was ever even a point, after all, look around, there's nothing but gray. That is when you have to remember the rules of the game. That's when you have to remind yourself it's not about knowing, it's about trusting, about creating puzzle pieces, not finishing murals. Anyone can create just one puzzle piece, and then just one more, and just one more. Because yes, it's difficult, as is life, but you'll remember why as you move into the storm and watch all those little pieces connect around you. Find something to make yours. I connect every few months with some of my good friends to strategize, kind of reflect back on the previous quarter, plan for the new one with each of our businesses, kind of share ideas, stuff like that. And I was chatting with my friend Keith about life before he found success in what he's doing now, the struggle and the turbulence he faced, as well as ultimately his decision, and that's entirely what it was, to turn things around. And I've talked about his backstory before, so I'm not going to get too much into it, but essentially he grew up in a very negative environment, dealt with a ton of adversity, but got through it. Started his own national business, installing and repairing commercial pizza ovens, and the guy's just crushing it. And, you know, our conversation in that moment wasn't so much about the doing, it was more on the overcoming and how mentally we had to recreate ourselves to have any chance of moving beyond what we knew. I've talked about it a little before. Kids are simply not taught in school how to thrive, how to build, how to ask more of themselves in the world. They're taught to follow instructions, to do what they need to do in order to pass the exam, to progress to the next level. And there's a gray area, because I'm not saying this is totally valueless, but I am saying that anything beyond that requires a reworking of sorts. Now, you ask anyone who stepped out of that cycle, and they'll tell you the mental and psychological shift that needed to take place. It was almost overwhelming, right? It's a lot, but it's imperative. I recently looked up the word entrepreneurship, and this is the definition. The activity of setting up a business or businesses, taking on financial risk in the hope of profit. And in my mind, it is the risk precisely that's challenging, that brings us so much pain, but also contains within it the reward. It's one of the craziest dilemmas we face. You know, you'll have to endure some of the worst times of your life, but because of that, you'll get to experience highs that would otherwise have been almost completely improbable. We have to rework the thinking that says discomfort equals run away. It's like, no, discomfort equals the price of something better, and sure, it's by no means mandatory, but it's where the upside lives. You have to train yourself to step out into the chaos with the expectation of taming it. And yeah, everything could go wrong, but also everything could go right. And just imagine Imagine what that would look like. That possibility alone validates the risk. We just need to convince ourselves. And that risk, by the way, is not just financial. In fact, most of the time it's not. It takes a variety of shapes in our lives. You run the race, you risk losing. You go up and talk to the girl, you risk rejection. You pick up and move somewhere new, you risk winding up somewhere you don't want to be. And maybe temporarily things do fall apart, but maybe you win the race. Maybe you find the love of your life. Maybe you relocate to the happiest place you've ever called home. Calculated risk is the beginning of everything that matters. And so back to the convo. We were talking about the different risks we've taken, how some chapters were fun, some were challenging, and some were both. And how, for me, there was even, from time to time, a conversation where I was asking myself whether it was really worth it. You know, when you're uncomfortable, the mind wants to do one thing: get rid of the discomfort. And I had to convince myself, remind myself that I'm someone who risks good to pursue great. Risk hurts. And somewhere in that conversation was when Keith said he remembers the exact point the risk became worth it. The discomfort became easier to manage. We're so used to taking orders, to playing scared, that the incentive just wasn't there until, Keith's words, it became mine. The most invigorating thing he ever did was find a pursuit to call his own. That's powerful. His business injected him with a new energy and, in essence, a new life, because he suddenly had a stake in the game. And I think that's what so many of us in so many areas are missing. The risk appears bigger when it's not counterbalanced by something meaningful. So find something to make yours. The simplicity there is beautiful. Complex ideas expressed in simple ways are always worth holding on to, right? We are programmed to lose because we are programmed to live according to someone else's standard, to think small, to ask ourselves, how do we not screw up? But when you can step outside that little self-imposed circle and instead ask yourself, what's something I can create that is my own, something I care about, that I can nurture, invest a part of me into, that's when life really starts paying dividends. You're not existing, you're living. Or as I've recently discussed, you're empowering yourself to not just sit in the room, but be in the room fully. I use entrepreneurship as the model for this discussion because that's been such a huge part of my life, where I've been injecting my time and attention and, risk. But the point is not that everyone needs to stop what they're doing and become an entrepreneur. That's one path of many, obviously. The point is that there is a risk-reward dynamic in entrepreneurship that we should all understand, extract, and inject into our own lives where it best applies. We've learned to settle in so many ways that we must know there is tremendous value in asking, what is it in my life I want to invest in? Make mine. Give myself the opportunity to experience the excitement of defining the things I care about and watching them grow. Right? Whether your current arena is entrepreneurship or motherhood, fatherhood, academics, a particular relationship, some combination of these, or anything else, to make magic out of the mundane requires we first make it ours. We take ownership, responsibility for the journey. We accept the risk and chase down the rewards. You can do amazing things when you realize what you're capable of and commit to its manifestation. So in a world where, yes, we are conditioned to fail, step out from those subtle shackles of learned helplessness. You are anything but helpless. It's just that you've yet to reach out and pull your dreams into your orbit. You've yet to put a stake in the ground and say this matters and it's time to see it through. Because once you do that, the good stuff begins.